Welcome to the Working Women's Channel. My name is Clara Capano, and we're going to share the real secrets to success. Come on in. So welcome to season 3 of the Working Women Channel. And I am here today with the amazing Lynette Reed. And we are going to be talking about the power of resilience as women. We're going to be talking about how failure doesn't define us. And we are going to be going into so many other tips, tools, and strategies to keep you motivated on your path to success. So Lynette, thank you for being here with me today.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me.
So this is a special one because you are actually calling in from Italy. So where are you in Italy?
I'm in a small town called Bassano del Grappa. So it's up in the north of Italy. It's kind of at the base of the Dolomites. So it's kind of picturesque and quite perfect. I feel like I'm in a dream half the time.
I want to just kind of dive right in. You know, you have run companies, you have redefined yourself, you've raised some amazing children. And I know that on this path to success, it's not always pretty. And there can be bumps in the road, detours, things that happen. Can you think of a time where, you know, success maybe wasn't so pretty and you had to shift gears and sort of look at straight on and redefine things?
Okay, did you say a time? Because it seems like that's just it's just part of the process. I mean, I feel like without failure, there isn't success in some way. I've had tons of failures. I've had tons of hard times. I mean, it can be anything from, first starting out and, when I started my first company and not literally having a cent to do it, but, coming up with the determination to fight those obstacles and find the money to start that business. And, I've literally had it all. As far as, divorce, I've been through bankruptcy. I've lost everything. I've had everything. I've lost everything. I've had my brother was murdered. Actually, today is the anniversary of his death. So it's like,
Wow.
Yeah, this is always a tough day for me.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah. So, like you said, through all of the hard things, there's been tremendous ups. There's just been amazing things. I'm sure we'll talk about some of them, but there isn't one difficulty because I feel like nothing's easy. If it was easy, like what's that saying? If it was easy, we'd all do it.
We'd all do it. Yeah.
It's not easy.
If you don't mind, I would love to ask you because you owned a global brand, Illume Candles. I mean, that was, your baby. And I know that was one of the ones where, again, a really high point. And then with the change of life, change of retail, things shifted with that. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that story and how you sort of, came out on the other side?
Yeah, and actually the thing was when I sold it, the candle market was going strong and Illume continued on after I sold it. It's been through 3 owners at this point. But I can honestly say that's probably the only regret I have in my entire life is selling that company. I shouldn't have sold it, but I did. But it's done incredibly well. It's still, it's a big presence in the candle industry out there. But I sold it because I was pregnant with my daughter. I hadn't been around at all for my son the first 3 years. He was here and she was unexpected. And when I found out I was pregnant with her, I just thought, no, I can't miss all that again. So that's when I sold the company.
Right. And that's, that is a challenge that we face because sometimes as women, especially when we become moms, we start wearing so many different hats. And, what is our identity? Are we a mom? Are we a wife? Are we a business owner? Are we a person? And we tend to lose sight of those. And I love the fact that you were, you owned it enough to say, no, I want to be home with my daughter. And I think that was, a really big message that I hope our viewers take away because sometimes on the path to success, we have to make trade-offs. So what were some of the things you did to help you gain your identity back, during those 2 or 3 years after? What were some of the things you did to sort of get that identity back?
start more start more businesses.
Mhm.
But that really wasn't, I mean, that didn't get me my identity back, I think. And I did, I started a lot of things after that, but I think I can honestly say it really wasn't until maybe within the last 4 years that I really got really comfortable in my skin, like really just feel good. And
Mhm.
it doesn't matter to me what anybody thinks of me, says about me. If they think I'm successful, if they think I'm stupid, I just don't care. And I'm
Yeah.
just genuinely happy where I'm at. And I don't know if that's age or if that's just all the things, that we go through in our lives that help us get to
Mhm.
that place. But I think it took a lot more, and a lot more ups and downs, and just a lot more life to get to this spot of
Mhm.
just being comfortable and knowing who I am.
Right. And it does. And I think that that's a path that, so many of us struggle with. I know I did as well. And I'm getting to that point now where I feel, again, the same way that you are expressing. And I think, as young women, I don't know if you have any advice for younger women who are kind of fighting with that, need for an identity or need for that. But I think, we get to a point where we have to redefine again what life and success looks like. Would you have any advice for younger women who are battling with that?
Yeah, I think when we're younger, and it's not everybody, obviously we're all different, but I think, it's learning to not care what other people think. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
what anyone else thinks, and we don't have to prove anything to anybody.
No.
Nothing.
And I think it's so amazing, these lessons that we don't learn until we, gain some experience, but going through it. But once you truly own your authenticity, it's amazing of the opportunities and the successes that come to you because you're
Yep.
finally attracting, the
Yep.
like-minded people. It's so beautiful. I
Yep.
want to talk a little bit about what you mentioned before with bankruptcy, because
Yep.
for a lot of people, women too, but a lot of people in general, going through a bankruptcy would really throw them for a loop. I know for me,
Yeah.
my mindset around money is security. So if my world was
Mhm.
disrupted, I don't know how I would respond to that. That would be a really big deflator for me. So, talk to me a little bit about how you went through that because it clearly did not stop you from success.
Yeah, I think because like I said, with the loom, that company, it went from starting, I managed to scrape $10,000 together to start that company. And within 12 years, or 12 years, I'm so sorry. Within 3 years, I was doing 12 million a year, and that company was just profit. It was amazing. And I bought houses on the golf course in La Quinta, house up in Arrow, and just, had stuff, and
Mhm.
felt successful. And through the course of divorce, and after I sold the company, and trying things that didn't succeed, I've opened other stores. I've had clothing stores. I started a jewelry company. I've been a consultant. I've tried so many things, and at a certain point found myself in a position where, and this was when we were living in Seattle, things got really, really rough. And we had another business up there with another husband, um, who, that didn't work out either. But we found ourselves in a position where, friends were telling me, you need to file. And I was saying, absolutely not, no way, no way. I'll make this work. I'll make this work. I'll fix this. I'll get through it. I'll fix it. I'll fix it. And as hard as I tried, I couldn't. And when I finally decided to file, um, it was, like you said, it was a tough decision, but the fact was, it was really at that point the only thing that was going to save me, because it was just
Mhm.
this immense feeling of drowning. I remember one day getting a parking ticket, and it was probably $65, and I literally just broke down into a puddle, because I just didn't even know where that $65 was going to come from. And I had two kids I was trying to raise, and I was I just, the only thing about bankruptcy that I regret is that I didn't do it sooner. In that
Mhm.
case, if I would have done it sooner, it would have been through it sooner, wouldn't have gotten so deep in. And part of it was, we had a company, we had some people that had invested in it. I didn't want to let them down. And that's really what kind of kept me trying to fix it. I think security, like for me, isn't having a big fat bank account. It's having enough to live the life I want to live and be happy. And um, And I sleep at night now with that.
I'm really hoping that people took that away. That was so powerful what you just said. And, really being able to understand that, success isn't always about checking off the boxes. I think when we're young, that's what we're programmed and that's what we start chasing. And I know for me, after I went through my divorce, being a single mom, again, really watching the pennies and everything as well, I kind of learned what I could let go of. So let's talk about this. You're running these companies, you're making sure that you can be there as a mom. You weren't there for your son, or so you didn't feel you were. So you wanted to make the change. Then you started doing these, other companies. How did you find a way? I don't like to use the word manage or balance, but how did you find a way to show up for it?
For the kids?
For
Or
everything. How did
for
you show
everything?
up for yourself? How did you show up for your
God,
kids? How did you show up for
Clara.
work? What were some of the things that you did to kind of do the best you could?
Oh man, it was hard. It's hard raising kids and juggling and, trying to, do it all. And
Mhm.
um, I probably didn't do it. I didn't do it perfectly. That's for sure. There were, um, you know, there were definite tough times, and I'm a stress person. I stress and I worry and all that kind of stuff. So I would say there was probably a decade that was really pretty difficult. Um, and but all you can do, it's like I always go back to this song, and it's a song by Fun, and it's called Carry On. And this one line in the song just always hits me, and it's, may your path be the sound of your feet upon the ground, carry on. And to me, it's like, you don't always have to know where you're going.
Mhm.
You just gotta get up and go. And I think that's always been my thing. Just go. Just get up and go, and you'll figure it out. And opportunities are going to present themselves as long as you're moving, not if you're just sitting there, but if you
Mhm.
get up and you go. And so I've always, when I get hit, I definitely cry, or yell or
Mhm.
swear, whatever it is, and fall down. And but I always get up pretty quickly, dust myself off, and keep going.
Which is exactly what you did. Your kids
Yeah.
grew up, they moved out of the nest, and you
Yep.
decided to make a move to Italy from Southern
Yeah.
California. So tell me
Yeah.
a little bit about how that decision, came together for you.
After going through the bankruptcy, after the marriage, that marriage fell apart. I found myself back home in California. My son had already gone to live in London. My daughter was living at home with me. And I got a job, which, when you've been an entrepreneur your whole life, getting a job is really weird. But I had this job, and it was a nice job. It wasn't anything really exciting, but it was a job and it was a paycheck. And I was in process of interviewing a new graphic designer at the company. So I was having these interviews, and I always liked at the end of the interview to ask them, if you could have your dream job, what would it be? Just to get a sense of what the person would say. And I heard, some really, oh, I'd be a surf instructor in Australia, or, all these different things. And it just gave me a sense of who, people's personality. So I'm driving home that night, and I'm driving along, PCH, and looking at the ocean. I'm like, I'm so lucky I've got my dream job. And I'm like, and then I thought, do you really? Like, is this your dream job? And I'm like, no. And I thought, and I asked myself, so what would your dream job be? And the first thing that came to mind would be, I would be a perfumer and I live in London. Now, when I asked myself this, I was probably about 54. And immediately thought, don't be ridiculous. You can't do that. You're not a chemist. You live here. You don't live in London. That's never going to happen. You're a 54-year-old woman. You've got, your kids, like, and I kind of at that point had kind of resigned myself to the fact that I would kind of live my life now through my kids, like, what they're doing, that my life, like the big part of my life, was over. And I don't know why I thought that, because that's so not me, but that's what I was thinking. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, why not? Why can't I go live in London. Why can't I be a perfumer? So I actually went to London to see my son, started taking perfumery courses, and thought, well, if I want to move to London, then I need to date in London. I came back, there was somebody I met who I thought this might work. And he was supposed to come to California to see me for my birthday, and he canceled. And I was with a friend that weekend. I was so crushed. And she goes, that's it. You're going on Bumble and you're going to date here. I said, no, I'm not dating here because I'm not going to live here. I'm going to live in London. She's like, okay, you're crazy. But you're going to date here. We're going to get you over this. You're going to date here. She starts setting up a Bumble profile for me, and we're going through. And I find my guy who lived right around the corner from me. But he's an Irishman who was living in LA, but he was married to an Italian and has a son here. And that's how we ended up here. So that was 4 years ago we met.
Right.
So
and you're engaged now. You just got engaged.
Yeah,
so congratulations.
Yeah,
But I love the idea, again, how you stopped yourself and, you said, is this really my vision? And then you really got connected and you said, I'm going to make decisions that are going to line me up with my vision, regardless, again, how crazy it is. And one of my very favorite phrases that I use with people that I work with and that I teach with is the vision comes first, the how will find a way. And, I really see that in what you're doing.
But also being open to things that come across your path while you've got your feet on the ground, moving. And that's what happened. I didn't end up in London, but I ended up in Italy, which I like a lot better.
Yes.
Right. And I did end up doing perfume and have, some of my formulas are in some lines that are in the market. And so, it's like you said, it's like you get that idea and then you just make decisions that take you in that direction.
Absolutely. So now we're in Italy, we're working on our company, and then all of a sudden, bam, pandemic hits. So tell us a little bit about what you did to find resilience and reinvent yourself in the midst of a pandemic.
I was coming back and forth to Italy every other month. So I would be, because tourist visa, so you get 6 months a year. So I would be 1 month in LA, 1 month in Italy, 1 month. And I was doing that for over a year. And then I came on February 20th of 2020. And we got word, my daughter was here at the time. And we heard that it leaked from the government that they were going to be shutting the entire country down the next day. And she's like, Mama, we got to go. And I said, I'm not going. And she said, well, we got to go. I said, nope, I'm not leaving. And so her dad got her on a plane to London. She got out. I stayed. We went into lockdown. And we would always hear people like, oh, we're in lockdown, and they're taking a walk through a park. We're like, that's not freaking lockdown. Like, lockdown in Italy was you did not leave your apartment. I did not step one toe out of my apartment for over 3 months. I remember, for me, I've always had to make things with my hands. If I can make something with my hands, I can at least channel, that energy. And so I went on Amazon, bought some paints, and started painting the views out my window, which then turned into other things, and started putting them on Facebook just to share. And I hadn't spent much time on Facebook, but during the, in those early, everybody was on Facebook. And everyone's showing, their banana bread. And I'm like, well, then I'll show one of my paintings. And people started asking to buy them. I was in the London Art Biennale that just finished this year. So I got into that. I'm a guest artist in a show in Milan right now. And it's going really well. It's been an absolute incredible journey. Yeah, it was a gift. It was a pandemic gift to me, I guess.
It is. And again, something that just started off with just making you feel good. And that's one of the things I really try to talk with women about is this idea of self-care. It doesn't always have to mean you go and work out. It's find something that brings you joy. And for you, you had to work with your hands. For other people, it could be reading, it might be cooking, whatever it is. But you found something, and that energy funneled through, and again opened up another avenue for you. So you have so many things going on. Again, your journey, your chapters are not even close to being over. So what's next for Lynette?
I do know I'll be at my job for a while. The company I work for, I'm a consultant, so I have 3 main clients. One that takes up the biggest chunk of my time. I do love the work I do. So I develop, candles for big retailers, and I work with small brands, and my work is wonderful. I love it. The hours are a little hard to stay on California time, because I'll be up until 1 a.m. working.
Sure.
But I love my work, so I will continue to work, I'm sure, for a while. But painting is definitely, that's what I would like to be my thing. I want that to be, the main thing. I'd like it to be my main source of income within the next year or two. So I'm throwing that out there. So
I think you should. I can see it happening for you. So as people are watching this, some of them are going to want to reach out to you, definitely to, look at your artwork, but they also may want to reach out and hear a little bit more about your story and talk with you. How can our viewers find you? What is the best way for them to reach out and contact you?
So I have 2 websites. I've got Lynette Reed, so LYNETTEREED.com. And that's kind of my consulting page. So that talks about candles and fragrance. And you can contact me through there. And I also have LynetteReedArt.com, and that's all for my painting. So either place. I'm also on Instagram as I am Lynette and Lynette Reed Art. Both those are perfect ways to reach out. I'm happy to talk to anybody about whatever.
Wonderful. Well, it's just been an honor to have you here and sharing, some items. Any other last words, any last, nuggets that you want to share with our women out there that are watching?
Just, what, don't be afraid. Take a chance, take risks. Because I don't know, it's always that thing where I always think, you don't ever want to get to the end and think, I wish I would have. And I always just, sometimes when I get stuck, I just remind myself, like, this isn't the dress rehearsal. This is it. This is what we've got. Today is the day. And if you choose for today to just be a quiet day, that's okay. As long as you're making that choice, but we can make, it's only us who can make our life be what we want. Nobody else is going to do it for us. And so if there's something you want, go out and try and get it.
Well, again, thank you so much for making time to share your story. I know it's going to inspire, motivate. I know it inspired me, and it got me excited to get my feet out there on the ground to go take charge of my life. So for all of you out there that are watching, again, please connect with and follow Lynette, an amazing artist. And again, so many wonderful tips for us. We've talked about resilience. We've talked about taking responsibility, and also making sure that you are chasing your dreams in life, in business, in love, and just really taking responsibility for your own life. So thank you for watching today's episode. Remember, you can get all of our episodes and get all your clarity on my website, www.claracapano.com.